Alvarez over at the White House for us. Let's discuss what's going on right now with Democratic Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi of Illinois. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us. And give us your perspective, because you're well plugged in. How unprecedented was this Iranian attack against Israel?
Well, we've never seen anything like it. Certainly we don't remember a time when Iran launched attacks directly from its soil onto Israeli soil. Now, thankfully, President Biden, working with our regional partners, including the Jordanians, were able to shoot down most of these missiles and drones before they did damage. But what I would say is that at this point, we should focus most of our attention on the National Security Supplemental sitting before Congress, because right now, it's, as somebody else said the other day, a Churchill or Chamberlain moment. Either we stand up to aggressors from Tehran to Moscow to Beijing and deter aggression and pass this supplemental, or we appease them. And that's really what's at stake in Congress. And so that's what we have to do there. And then finally, I would just say that the parties have to be forced to the table, and we have to come to an immediate halt to hostilities linked to hostages being returned and massive humanitarian aid entering the Gaza Strip.
I know you're back in your home district in Illinois this weekend. You're a key member of the House Intelligence Committee. Have you already been briefed on what's going on?
No, not yet. When we were in Washington on Friday, we received information in a classified setting, and then I'll be getting more tomorrow.
When you're back here in Washington. Israel is weighing its response. The Israeli President Isaac Herzog told me today that balance is needed, and Israel is approaching all this, he said, cool-headedly. What do you see as the appropriate next step for Israel?
I personally, obviously it's up to the Israelis and their war cabinet and their government. However, I think at this point, they had a victory last night in working with their partners and friends to defeat the massive attack that Iran undertook. And now they, working with us, should look to see how we can stand united against further aggression. And we in the U.S. will also have the space, so to speak, to pass the National Security Supplemental. Any kind of escalation, any kind of wider war or hostilities there will make it harder, not easier, for us to do the work that we need to do in Washington. And so I would just respectfully request our friends to not escalate and take this to a wider regional war that could spiral out of control. Instead, allow us to do our work, pass the National Security Supplemental, help fund the David Sling, the Arrow program, the Iron Dome programs, which proved so successful last night in defeating those missile attacks.
Were you surprised that 99% of those rockets and missiles and armed drones that were coming in towards Israel were intercepted by Israel, by the U.S. and the U.K. and other friendly countries in the region?
99% pretty good, huh? I think that is a testament to President Biden's leadership as well in pre-positioning assets so that we are in a position to help coordinate with the Jordanians, with the British, with the French, in partnership with the Israelis, where the missiles and drones are going, and then taking them down before they can do damage. The images from last night were pretty stark. A lot of missiles were coming in all at once, but thankfully the IDF, working with partners, were able to make the most of the technology that we've jointly funded.
Yeah, I knew that technology, the Iron Dome and the David's Sling and the Arrow were all very, very impressive. The Patriot air defense missile system, all of that is really amazing, but I had no idea that it would be able to knock out hundreds of these incoming rockets and missiles as quickly and as effectively as they did.
And here's the thing, Wolf, which is that in funding the security supplemental, we would help to replenish the Iron Dome. We'd help to modernize the David Sling and Arrow systems. And remember, any kind of escalation of this conflict could trigger Hezbollah entering the picture. They have 150,000 missiles, which could make last night look like a stroll in the park. So let's not go there. We don't want a wider war that spirals out of control.
As you know, many of your Democratic colleagues in the House are extremely concerned over the way Israel is conducting the war against Hamas in Gaza. You say northern Gaza has now entered a period of famine. The Israeli President Isaac Herzog told me a couple hours ago that Israel is not using starvation as a weapon. I want you to listen to what he said. How do you respond to allegations that Israel is using starvation potentially as a weapon of war? Weapon of war, those are strong words.
God forbid,
potentially
no way.
Could be a war crime.
God forbid. God forbid. We have no intention to do that. We take any measures necessary according to international humanitarian law. If Samantha Powers, who I respect, has any real information, data that can be tested, our people are always available. We are working very closely with the United States and with many other allies to test on an hourly basis the situation in Gaza. As I've said, there's a huge influx of importation of humanitarian aid to Gaza, and I reject, as far as I know, I reject this claim.
So, Congressman Krishnamoorthi, what's your reaction to what we just heard?
I hope Mr. Herzog is right. However, the impact or effect of what's happening now cannot be denied. As Jose Andres wrote in a very eloquent op-ed in the New York Times the other day, we are seeing a situation that demands massive humanitarian aid and food aid. We cannot have a situation where anyone is facing starvation, especially the children, but any innocents in Gaza. And we have to remember, we're talking about millions of people who are there right now.
Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi, thanks as usual for joining us.
Thank you, Wolf.